Thesis is what is arachnophobia and how does it affect people in everyday life? Much like Chris Pine, who stated, "Not a fan of spiders. I saw the movie Arachnophobia, which was single-handedly rated in the top 3 worst choices of my life. I, myself, hate spiders as well." Just this last summer, I had to defeat my fear and actually had to face one head to head. It was just the last of summer and the beginning of my junior school year. I was currently home alone by the fact that my parents had some dinner party to get to. It was around 10 o'clock and I was almost finished with my homework when lo and behold, while I was grabbing my backpack, I was frightened by a 50-cent piece-sized spider. Abruptly, not knowing what to do, I immediately sought out the help of my friends via Snapchat for their support and advice. Having been mocked and ridiculed for being so absurd for not killing the spider on the spot, I was still fighting against myself, building this spider into my worst nightmare. Finally, close to an hour of going back and forth on worrying if the spider would move or not, I picked up my thick English literature book and beat the spider repeatedly for a solid 2 minutes. Sharing this one experience of my encounters with spiders just proves on how intrigued I am to learn and teach on what the matter of subject is and how to overcome this particular issue. First thing you should know is that arachnophobia or fear of spiders is a very common phobia for people. From the Ultimate List of Phobias and Fears website, I discovered that arachnophobia is the oldest and most common terror in the Western culture. Also, in a journal article called Arachnophobia by Jessica Brown, one theory of the beginning of arachnophobia was from our ancestors just trying to stay alive. This primitive behavior is said passed down by evolution and is one of the factors to the fear of spiders. She also later states that arachnophobia affects millions of people around the world. In another website, according to Healthotopia, which was titled Arachnophobia's Fear of Spiders Causes, Symptoms, and Treatments, this phobia is the third worst that people suffer from. They go on saying that at least 3.5 to 61% of the population is likely to have this fear, along with 30.5% of the US to have it. What shocked me was that out of these statistics, a merely 2% has sought out help from an expert, and women are the majority who have it. Second thing you should know is that many causes can influence people's fear, such as fear of spiders. In many articles and websites such as Arachnophobia by Jessica Brown and Healthotopia's Arachnophobia Fear of Spiders, Causes, Symptoms, and Treatments, I found that cultural background is a major factor. For instance, in some parts of the world, like South America, spiders are a delicacy, whereas in Africa, UK, and other parts of the world, they see spiders as dangerous and life-threatening. However, it was from the Ultimate List of Phobias and Fears 2015 website where I found a majority of different causes. Arachnophobia can be a learned response, meaning you could have learned to fear spiders after seeing other people being fearful of them. Another way is imbalance of brain chemicals, which has also been linked to the fear. Traumatic experience in the past involving spiders could also be a reason of why you panic the dreadful creature. A third thing you should know is that there is a difference between the fear of spiders and being afraid of spiders, and ways to tell which category you fall under. Some most common symptoms of in most of the sources, which include rehabs, the nation's best rehabs about counseling, arachnophobia, and the ultimate list of phobias and fears of spiders and phobias, were just the names of where I found my sites. Some symptoms you may experience are dizziness, hot and cold flashes, chest pain, rapid heartbeat, thoughts of death, nausea, trembling, sweating, and inability to distinguish between reality and unreality. Along with those symptoms, you may also encounter feelings of choking, going crazy, losing control, or anxiety. Some things that can trigger those responses could be the mention of cobwebs, thinking about spiders, looking and or being in contact with spiders, and having these symptoms can lead people into actually avoiding outside at certain times of the year, preferring to leave the house rather than staying in if a spider is in their limit. They could also limit their activities if thinking that there is a chance there might be a spider there. Another way is that they might be unable to kill or trap a spider. They may freeze or run uncontrollably on instant when a spider is on the spot. And if you scan a room to see if there's any spiders to free your conscience of worries from spiders. If you happen to do any of those things, you more than likely have arachnophobia and could benefit from treatment from professional help. On the contrary, if you may do one or two of these things, then you more likely are just afraid a normal amount and don't need the treatment for this cause. The last thing you should know is that people have established treatment plans for arachnophobia to help overcome this fear. According to Jessica Brown's journal article, Arachnophobia, techniques like cognitive behavior therapy, systematic desensitization, anti-anxiety, and sleep medication are all ways to help people who suffer from arachnophobia. In CBT, a counselor will work with a patient to alter their patterns of thoughts depending on severity. They may also use mild exposure to their phobia to see how they stress. Systematic desensitization works more on relaxation techniques that they can use on a daily basis. This can include writing down several versions of encounters that involve spiders and situations and how to deal with them. As for medication, if a professional healthcare worker feels that you are in need of it, it can be very beneficial. Some common medication given are anti-anxiety and antidepressant. Some other message of treatment I found was that of Health Research Funding's website that was updated in 2014. There I found that hypnotherapy and virtual reality are two common treatments used today by psychiatrists. These methods are so modern that some psychiatrists will use VR glasses and VR gloves to simulate spiders actually crawling on a patient. Now, having exposed the fear and ripping it symbolically apart with information, you should be able to overcome or at least get help if you feel like your fear is becoming a nuisance. It is much like this saying Eleanor Roosevelt once said, "You gain strength, courage, and confidence by every experience in which you really stop to look fear in the face. You are able to say to yourself, I lived through this horror. I can take the next thing that comes along." Taking that quote into consideration, not only should you face your fear for your own benefit, but also to gain virtues that you may have been lacking while in the fear itself, much like what Eleanor was saying. Having supplied you with the knowledge of the dreadful hairy creature, I hope that you found this speech not only educational, but beneficial.